evenly spaced deadlines in the second group where it was optional, subjects who set evenly spaced deadlines did just as well as those in the no-choice group. Right? So what we saw was that there was a distribution of when people set deadlines, but when people chose to set deadlines the same way that the instructor would have set the deadlines, they did just as well as the people for whom the instructor did set the deadlines, which suggests, at least to me, right, that people who know themselves the best and understand how to get the best results can't actually do any better than the instructor. Okay? Right? So we're starting to look at a situation where we have some fairly rigorous social science evidence that could guide public policy. Right? Give people a choice to set deadlines on themselves, but also, by the way, just do it for them. All right. Here's the kicker, though. Okay? Subjects' enjoyment of the task depended on which group they were in. So they were asked after each task, on a scale of 1 to 100, how enjoyable was it? Those in the no deadline said 37.9. I mean, that's, to me, reasonably high for a task where you're, like that. Those in the self-imposed group who chose their own deadline, it went down by a chunk. And those who had no choice were a bunch. They're like half as happy with the task. Okay? So I got better results. I got more prompt results. You got paid more, and you hated it. Okay? Hard to know what was really best. Hard to know. Now, if you're a policymaker, you would say, I don't care how much they enjoy the task. I just want them to do a good job on it. Do I care how much you're enjoying college? I don't. What I care about is how much of a difference you make in the world when you're done. Okay. Now let's poke into some of these normative issues. Your handout is in the wrong order at this point, by the way. So flip forward until you get to here. Yes?
For a policymaker, could make arguments it would be better to let them set their deadline, because that way people who don't have self-control, they wouldn't make it their own deadline. You can't set their own goals. So that way you let them see
so by the same logic, Alex, I think you would agree that we should not have guardrails on the freeway, and we should not have any kind of safety restrictions on playground equipment. In fact, what we should do is we should take all elementary schools and put them on the edge of a cliff. And the kids who fall off the cliff,
that's what we're raising.
it's a short step from their eugenics. I take your point. If what we care about is getting the cream of the crop and boosting them up the but we could have a long conversation about whether you want to live in a society that would result from that policy. So let's just do this. Suppose all universities require that all classes use a no-choice deadline policy. Instructor sets the deadlines, they're set equally spaced. Okay? What would be the welfare consequences for students, right? So we can think about different students, not the aggregate of all students, compared to a no deadlines policy. So compared to a baseline of just get this stuff done whenever you want, have it all done by the end of the, right, which is like the term paper. So I give it, in my graduate class, I have this massive term paper project in groups of 4, and it takes hundreds of hours. It's really demanding. And what I do is I have these 4 milestone assignments that you have to do along the way, and they're rigidly set deadlines, and they're not evenly spaced. They're spaced exactly where they should be, given how much work I know is to be done. And I wouldn't even dream of letting people just finish the project at the end of the semester, because people say, well, your students are adults. You should let them maximize their utility. No. That's wrong in so many ways. Okay, so would everybody be better off if you went to the no choices? You've just seen the results. Let's assume those results hold for everybody. So we're going to go from no deadlines to no choice. Instructor set deadlines. Would everybody be better off? Sophisticates would be better off, but nice and TCs, time consistence would be worse off. Nice would be better off. Sophisticates, TCs worse off, or everybody would be worse off. Go. What do you think? Oh, you can discuss this in groups. That's a complicated question. Okay, just give it another 10 or 15 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's stop. Okay. Aha. Okay, so let's look at the modal answer. Naives would be better off, but sophisticates and time consistence would be worse off. So someone who has not piped up yet today, or even usually, or maybe even ever, that starts to shrink the pool. Somebody, jump in and give it. Somebody who answered C. You with the hand. You just got voluntold. Did you answer C? Okay, why? Because they're basically going to hose themselves the way. So sophisticates would be worse off because. But see, this is against the situation where they can't actually set a deadline. So what would you have said instead? Yeah. Okay, so the first thing you said is that naives would be better off, basically, because you're taking them from a situation where they're either, they're just going to not set deadlines because they don't need to, and then you're going to make them better off in the ways that we've seen. Okay, does anybody disagree with that strongly? What about the sophisticate, Andrew?
Well, I think it depends, like, what they're off. They're going to have more money, but they're going to hate their life more.
Right. And if they knew they were going to hate it, presumably they made their choices. If they were using free will, they would have made choices that took into account the disutility of doing it. But now we're forcing them to do it in a way that makes them hate it for money. We don't know whether the money is worth it to them. Possibly. Okay.
They could, like, really want to beat this model, but if he just wants him like that, he's like, oh, I didn't even have to try it.
So, as often as I possibly can, I follow you down these roads. But I'm going to let you walk this one alone. Well, so let me ask you this question. Go back to the thing on the problem set about the computer game. Now, leaving aside the fact that I set the problem up in such a way that most people were bamboozled, what you found was this. The present bias, remember, the present bias effect makes both the naive and the sophisticate, by and large, do pleasant tasks too soon, right? Or do, in this case, play the game too long, okay? The sophistication effect is that the sophisticate always does a task earlier, which in this case would mean stopping earlier, except when she can't, right? What you saw in the video game situation, the computer game situation, was it turned out that there was no way for the sophisticate to make herself better off. There was no commitment device. It was set up, and the numbers were set up in such a way that they both wound up playing too long because there just was nothing that the sophisticate could do to help herself out. If I don't give the sophisticated student the opportunity to set deadlines and I penalize her, what recourse does she have? How is she in a position? How can her sophistication help her? Right? So in some sense, if naives and sophisticates have the same utility function, the same self-control problem, and there's nothing the sophisticate can do about it, then we would expect that in the no choices setup, right? In the no deadline setup, they would blow it the same way, right? They would make Jack just told us this. He just said, I'm a perfectly sophisticated beta delta discounter, and I would blow it. right? So in terms of outcomes, this should make naives and sophisticates better off in the same way, setting aside the fact that maybe they don't like the task. Because I don't know how much they don't like it. It's very hard to know how big of a deal it is. So I'm going to set that aside for now. I say, in terms of outcome, in terms of the sort of obvious economic outcomes, this is going to make them both better off unambiguously. There's a larger question, which is, does anybody have any idea how long that was out? I think just right then. I caught it. Good. So there's a larger question, which is this. The sophisticate, Jack, you know that you would appreciate this policy. Yeah. A naive person, anybody here know that they're naive? That's kind of not possible. The question you've got to ponder is, would the naive thank you for this? Right? So to say the naive was made better off, they don't know that. Right? Now suppose the naive has been doing this, they've been hired as a proofreader, like, for the last 5 years. It's been their job. And they're sitting there going, I'm just one of the poorest proofreaders I know. I'm always late, I never catch a lot of errors, and I get paid very little. And then someone comes along and says, I'm going to force deadlines on you. And you say, no, I don't need deadlines. I don't need deadlines. You get forced to do the deadlines, and you wake up a year later and you say, interesting, I have a full wallet. So then maybe this person becomes more sophisticated. Maybe they say, that was good public policy. But suppose you were born after the policy had been imposed, right? You'd be sitting there going, this is ridiculous. I can't believe the government makes me wear a helmet when I ride a motorcycle. I want them to take away that law. I grew up in Kentucky. I grew up riding a motorcycle, and there was a helmet law. And I can tell you it's a really good thing there was, because you would not have me as an instructor if there hadn't been. And there isn't now, right? And then you got to ask yourself the question, are you better off because you, as a naive, feel like now you can make better choices for yourself? Or are you better off as a naive because somebody said, you know what, you're going to make stupid choices. Why don't I do a better job for you? Because I've done a lot of social science research, and I actually do know better than you. Yeah?
Can I just ask you what you said earlier about the difference between the sophisticated and naive? So if I understood correctly, what you're saying is that your sophistication only comes into play because when you have the chance to do something about these
right.
Basically, you're sophisticated enough to do something about it.
No. So tell me your name? Yeah. Anna. So Anna's question is, the difference between the sophisticated and the naive is the sophistication only helps you if you're sophisticated enough to do something about it. Actually, what I'm saying is your sophistication only helps you if there is something you can do about it. Right? So if you're sophisticated enough to go to Dean Carlin and say, yeah, you can take my money, I just need help quitting smoking, that's great, but it's only possible because Dean Carlin invented this website. Right? If you're one of my subjects in the online game experiment that I'm conducting, if you're sophisticated, you can go and say, yes, I want to use your little device, I want to limit myself. But the only reason it's there is because I invented it. Right? It's like prior to that, you were just on your own. So what matters is, and then there are situations where just naturally, you can get the problem set out of the way. You sort of created your own commitment device in some sense, or there was a way for the sophisticate to do better, but sometimes there isn't. And with this deadline setting thing, there just isn't. Okay, so then the question becomes, normatively, as a policymaker, or as a policy analyst, which is what I am, should I care about, so if I know that there are naives out there making choices that I can see measurably, right, in a randomized controlled trial, are not good for them in important ways, okay, should I, as a normative matter, should I judge that on the basis of what I believe their true preferences are? Right? I know that people like more money over less money. This is not hard. Or should I base it on what you tell me your preferences are when you have sufficiently irrational expectations to actually not know? Right? My preference is you don't impose deadlines on me because I believe I'm going to do a better job than you. Who do I believe if I'm a policymaker? And notice I didn't ask you who do I believe if I'm a politician. That's easy. Who do I believe if I'm a politician? The naive, right? Because the naive is another word for naive is a voter. So that's more straightforward, right? But if you're, let's say that you live in a country where voters don't have quite as much immediate control over things like, say, the United Kingdom, where you vote once every several years and then the Prime Minister just gets to absolutely dictate everything until you kick him out, or her, then you might come along with something more paternalistic and say, actually, I've got Dick Thaler working for me, which is true. Dick Thaler is an advisor to David Cameron, the PM of the UK, and he says I ought to do this, right, on the basis of his libertarian paternalist thing, and so I'm going to do it because I'm David Cameron. I'm just that kind of guy. So these are huge problems for public policy, and they're problems for the exact same reason that, the fundamental issue here is the same as under reference dependence, but it's even a bigger deal, which is having introduced irrationality into our model, we're obviously able to do a far better job of predicting outcomes, right? So it's a massive improvement in the positive power of the model, but normatively, we don't know what to do anymore. We really don't know what to do. Okay? We don't know whose preferences we should take into account. Okay. And then I have this other quicker question about what if the university just required all classes to use the self-imposed policy. We've addressed the basic issues, so I'm going to skip over this. Okay. So let's try to extract some generalizable lessons from this so far before we look at a couple of other real-world cases. When costs are immediate, okay, this is the case with doing the assignment, any kind of work deadlines. It's the case with retirement savings. It's the case with a lot of long-term lifestyle, health-related lifestyle choices. It's actually probably economically the more relevant case than when benefits are in the immediate, except when it comes, well, I guess that's not right because you have all kinds of overeating and temptation of one kind or another. But so we're going to look at some generalizable lessons for when costs are the immediate thing. But first, sorry, that presupposes that there was a right answer. And I'm sorry I didn't address that. There's really no right answer to that question. Right? Whether time consistents are made better off or not, in some sense, theoretically, we can say time consistents cannot be made better off by having their choice set restricted. Then we have to ask the question, are there really any time consistents in the population? Shahar Karif claims he's one. And you would say that in this case the same thing. And I believe it. I would get this right. I would get this problem right myself. But yes, typically we say a time-consistent person can only be made worse off by having their choice set restricted, which we talked about 3 or 4 lectures ago. All right, generalizable lessons. When costs are immediate, present bias makes people procrastinate. Okay, we know this. Naives may procrastinate very badly and get hurt a lot. Okay? The more sophisticated a person is, the less they procrastinate or get hurt if there's a way for them to prevent themselves from procrastinating, and there isn't necessarily always a way. All right. Second generalizable lesson. Creating opportunities to make intertemporal decisions in advance typically makes sophisticates better off. Okay, so set your own deadlines and then pay Guido Ackland to enforce them is making a decision for your beta self when you are in your delta self. Okay, this is what I said on Tuesday about taking the decision out of the hands of the beta self and giving it to the delta self, which has to mean giving you the opportunity to make a decision in advance that is binding on your future self. Okay, this will typically make sophisticates better off, and it should make naïves and TCs no worse off because it doesn't restrict their choices. So if you're time consistent and you're really getting things right, you don't have to choose my commitment device. If you're a naive, I would claim that making it optional is making you worse off because you don't know, you don't have the sense to come in out of the rain sometimes. But I'm certainly not making you worse off. Okay, so in terms of sort of Pareto improvements, if I can come up with a voluntary commitment device, I can say pretty unambiguously I've made the world a better place. Okay, that's going to be pretty unambiguously Pareto improving, and you can make a difference in the world by finding things like that. There's lots of opportunities. 3, forcing everyone to make quote-unquote optimal decisions can certainly make sophisticates better off, right? Especially if there's no way for them to make commitments themselves. It will probably make naives considerably better off in a lot of situations, but they will almost certainly think that they are worse off. And then time consistence, of course, you're going to make them worse off. But you will find that there are situations where the impact on time consistence is actually relatively small, right? Because the optimal thing you're imposing on them is not that different from the thing they would have done. And also you'll find situations where it's kind of implausible that there are very many of them. But, and I'm putting this, I'm emphasizing this as many ways as I can, you better be really sure you know what is optimal. Okay? Note that Ariely and Vertenbrock had strong externally valid evidence. The same thing applies, by the way, to my no laptop rule. Most undergraduates think that they are able to optimize their utility in the choice between using a laptop, bringing a laptop into the classroom versus not. There is a lot of research in the field of pedagogy that says you're wrong. Okay? You're really wrong. It's really not a good idea. And here's what's really a trip, is that there's also research where students are shown the research that proves that, and they still make the wrong choice. Okay? You can tell students what's best for them pedagogically, and they will still do the thing that you just told them wasn't a good idea. Okay? So there are situations where you really can be reasonably confident that you know what's going to be a good idea for naives, and just do it for them. Now, but you better really know, okay? Because you'll never be perfectly correct. You'll always hurt TCs at least a little bit. But more to the point, I want to say this, okay? Economists, students in economics are typically pretty libertarian, so this all sounds pretty horrible to them. But you may be a woolly-headed liberal, okay? You may be more of the persuasion that I grew up with. My grandfather was actually a socialist member of parliament in the 1930s and 40s in England. And so you may be of the sort that thinks that, we should have helmet laws. People don't know that people aren't smart enough to protect their own heads when they go riding a motorcycle. We should have a helmet law. People don't know enough to protect their kids from, tall jungle gyms. We should have padded mats. This is called paternalism, right? Let me tell you a fact that you may not know yet. Every well-intentioned paternalist thinks that they know what's best, and they think they have a very good reason for thinking so. Okay? Everybody is deeply convinced that their policy preference is right. So if you're going to go down the road of claiming that you're acting in the name of well-established behavioral economic results, you better be darn sure you're right. Okay? You better be darn sure that what you're doing is actually based on real research and just not your whim. Okay, so that's all about that. Let me say one other thing about that. Since I'm in like chiding and chastising mode, let me say one more thing about that. Yeah, I'll say this briefly now. It'll come up again after the second midterm, and we'll talk about it endlessly. Most of the things that people currently, because behavioral economics and public policy has become very popular, most of the things that people want to do in the name of want to regulate, helmet laws, soda taxes, things like that, in the name of behavioral economics, in the name of we have a lot of research that shows that people are irrational, and this soda tax is going to help them make better choices so that they're less obese and their children are less obese, and that's going to make the world a better place. How do I know? Because Dan Ackland told me so. He's a behavioral economist. He's a behavioral economist. Well, they're always right. Look at Dan Ariely. Boom. Most of the things that people want to justify in the name of that kind of behavioral economics are actually perfectly justifiable on the basis of some old-fashioned external cost, right? People drink a ton of soda. I can show if you want, I can show you a bunch of studies that show that that drinking a 32-ounce soda and drinking a 16-ounce soda on average give people exactly the same feeling of satiation. Okay, but if I give you a 32-ounce soda, you're likely to finish it. I can come with a soda tax and say I'm doing this for these people's benefit. But the fact of the matter is that obesity imposes a massive external cost on society because we got to take care of you when you're obese, right? You're going to wind up sucking up society's resources. You're going to wind up driving up insurance premiums. I don't need the behavioral economics defense to justify the soda tax. It's like cigarette taxes. Why do we do cigarette taxes? Because your cigarette smoking hurts everybody else. So just be a little bit careful. Behavioral economics can teach us a lot about what's good policy and what isn't, but there's a lot of situations where you don't need behavioral economics to justify good public policy. Let me come back to that at length later on. Okay. Consumption savings borrowing. Okay, so credit cards, retirement savings, etc. And this also includes houses, which can be considered a form of savings, buying a house. Okay. Here are 2 facts about high school educated households in the United States as of 1998. Sorry, this data is so old, that's what I've got. As of that time, this was from David Leibson's, this was from a paper that David Leibson did right after he graduated with a PhD, which was in 97. 67.8%, 2/3 of American households had credit card debt, which means rolling debt, not paying it off at the end of the month. The average debt for all households was 11.7% of annual income. So I'm sitting on a rolling credit card balance of 10% of my income, and I'm paying some shockingly high interest rate on that. Meanwhile, when you look at households that were rolling into retirement, household head age 50 to 59, they had illiquid assets. That means assets that are not immediately